I'd like to welcome you all today to TMS Tuesday. This is our 53rd edition, so quite a number of these things over the years. And I'd like to thank so many of you for attending. There are also a lot that join and record for out of hours, and I know that these recordings are used for team meetings and the like. So, if you're not watching live, then hi guys, it's good to have you back. So today is something I've been promising and not delivering from a long time, and that is a case study. And I was so passionate to do this because this is what the feedback I was getting, what people want to know about. They want to learn, know, understand, and to some extent question and benchmark their own airport operations from a real life airport to see how different airports work. And it's different challenges, different problems, different cultures, how they do things, what they learn, what goes well, and what areas they're looking to develop. Because like every airport, and you'll see, I think you're all facing the same type of experience where projected traffic volumes are always increasing. Generally speaking, your number of runways is not increasing, or certainly not at the same rate. So you've been asked to get more from less, more out of your airport all of the time. And of course, we want to keep the costs down because that's what accountants do. So it's a very challenging environment. And then, of course, regulation, safety, compliance are also key things. But we have new technology to help us. Riding on a great shiny white horse, we have AI and coming in a number of ways with different names. But we have more technology. It's all about digitally recording data and how we use it intelligently to manage our business better. So you can see the panel on the screen right now. But we will have the webinar. Today's webinar of airfield lighting inspection and maintenance, presented by Jeroen Gorter and Bart van Loo from Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam. They will introduce themselves. And then afterwards, we will jump into our panel for question and answer session, of course, with our regular panelists, Tony Smith, inventor of the PAPI, Stuart Ford, who's a knowledge and experience of working in the airfield lighting industry and being a consultant for his entire life, and likewise Carl, hugely passionate airfield lighting designer, consultant, and like all of us, looking to put back and to help the next generation of airfield lighting specialists in some way with our knowledge and experience. So, but first of all, let's speak to the younger generation. Let's start our webinar. Today, I welcome you both from Schiphol International Airport, the third largest airport, I think, in Europe. In some respects, the number one airport, I would say, from my research in terms of environmental considerations. And I think this is something I would like to explore with you in the course of our discussions today, because this is a pressure on all of us. People don't normally associate the environment and good practices with aviation, but as our listeners, our viewers will learn, there are a number of practices, a number of initiatives of which you've been leading that are very important to our planet. So First of all, may I ask if you could introduce yourselves and Schiphol Airport, please?
Yeah, hello, my name is Jeroen Gorter. I'm working as a technical expert at the airport on the cluster airside, and I'm responsible for the AGL.
And Bart?
My name is Bart van Loo. I'm working for a large construction company in the Netherlands, Heijmans. And we assigned a main contract several years ago with Schiphol, and we're responsible for the maintenance on, as we call it, parcel one. That's included all runways and taxiways on Schiphol Airport, and all the assets in that area, like AGL, but also the civils, the grass, drainage. It's all marking. It's all part of our main contract. And we have to meet some KPIs of reliability, availability, and all that.
That's an important part because, as you know, my motto is always, you can't manage what you don't measure. So in this respect, the work that you do providing your services is always subject to scrutiny, and the way you demonstrate good performance is by measurement, and this is at the heart of your good management practices. But to begin with, a little bit about Schiphol Airport. First of all, I noticed two connected but very interesting fact. I think I don't know there is a bigger single terminal airport in the world, really. And this is quite unusual, and it's one of the reasons I believe that Schiphol is considered one of the most efficient airports in the world. You have six operational runways with one terminal. How do you manage this?
A lot of planning.
We have several peak hours on Schiphol. We have some inbound peaks and we have some outbound peaks. In the inbound peaks, we have 2 runways available for landing, one for starting, and during outbound peak, we have 2 for starting and 1 for landing mainly. And in the peaks between, sometimes a 4th runway is used. So during the day, a lot of switching by ATC along the runways is done, and we have 3 runways in north-south direction, which is the most used direction here in the Netherlands, and then we have a southwest runway, and also 1 east-west runway, which only during a little bit less good weather, some stormy weather, western storm, we have one runway in that direction, and then we have the last more. The smallest runway on the east area where Schiphol was founded more than 100 years ago. And that's more for general aviation, and also some helicopters from the police are using that area. It's the general aviation.
And you have a mixture, I mean, you're a hub airport, but you have commercial, you have the normal passenger aircraft, and also you have a lot of cargo, I believe.
Yeah, we have a lot of cargo. On the southern area of Schiphol, we have the cargo area where we have the aprons for the cargo, and the passengers are in the center of Schiphol around the terminal building. I don't know exactly how many stands we have because the aprons are not part of our scope.
And the airport is operating 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So
we have some limits on the night hours, and also due to environment and surrounding neighbors, we have a strict regulation on which runway can be used when, due to noise pollution and
yes,
a lot of regulations for the ATC guys in the tower to deal with.
So I see that there are a lot of discussion in Schiphol concerning sustainability and noise policies, and potential restrictions and limits, and but there are also a lot of activities for noise reduction on night flights, electrification of support equipment, just encouragement of electrical vehicles, and policies aimed to mitigate the noise pollution and the sustainability of the airport. And I think we talk more about this when we come to lighting. So in terms of visual aids, what is the scope of your responsibilities?
We have the runways, we have the taxiways, we have the signs, the PAPIs, and we have the wind socks. And then we talk about 19,000 lights in our scope.
Wow, that's a lot of lights.
Yeah, and so they're divided on the 6 runways. 5 of them are already in LED, and 1 is still in halogen, the east runway. And then we have quite a large taxiway area with all the taxiways leading from and towards the runways. Around the central terminal, we have a ring-shaped taxiway with an Alpha and a Bravo track. So we have a 2-direction taxiway system all around our terminal complex.
Yeah.
So 1 for clockwise, and the other one is anti-clockwise standard taxi routing towards the piers.
And from all the fixtures we have, I think 5 to 10% is still halogen.
All the rest is
Yeah,
LED.
the rest is LED, and the planning is that we have in 2028 100% LED on the airport Schiphol.
So with so many lights, signs, PAPI, and are the stands also under your
Stands are not
No.
part of our scope.
right?
So
Pure the runways, taxiways, and the assets around them.
How do you ensure compliance with EASA for these so many lights?
for sure, that's one, and it starts with a good design. So that you start with a compliant design if you build something or refurbish something, and then keep them in shape. So we have our maintenance schedule where we do our retorquing, we do our light measurements, we do our PAPI alignments. We do our tests on or our inspections on the signs, and we do our testing on the emergency generators. Once a year, we have a complete power outage simulated on every substation, because all those lights are fed by 10 substations. Every runway has its own substation, and also our taxiway area is divided in parts. If something fails, not everything is completely out. So we try to keep operation running as possible and build in a lot of redundancy.
Yeah. So to start with, I guess all the circuits are interleaved.
On the runways, all the
Runways,
circuits
yeah.
are interleaved, and on taxiway we have quite short circuits. So if something is failing, and it's not a big area that fails. And also we have divided in several rooms in the substations also. So in case of a failure, only a part of the area is affected.
You do visual inspections on a daily basis?
Yeah.
And how many would this? How many? One a day or more?
That's done by operations. That's not by the maintenance team. That's done by operations, by bird control. They do before a runway goes into operation. They drive up the runway and also perform visual inspections. We have a 4-weekly interval for our light measurements on the runways, and we have on a daily basis we have a vehicle driving around the taxiways to inspect lights failing. Because we have a lot of LED, that's decreasing the amount of lights failing compared to the halogen time. And we're trying to repair failures by visual inspection as soon as possible. And every 8 weeks, we have access to every runway in 1 week. We have a night shift where lights are replaced, PAPI checks are done, signs are monitored, torquing is done on the runways.
And so you mentioned every month, I think you do a photometric check on each runway.
On the runways,
okay. And then the repairs are carried out. You have a closure every 2 months.
Yeah, but if there is earlier need for a replacement because we have adjacent lamp failure or a little bit too much, then we get in contact with operations and try to get access within a small window between some changes of runways to replace the lights. Because we don't wait standard for 2 months, but if we're approaching the planned maintenance week, we're gonna spare those tasks for that week because we don't want to interfere in operations that much. If it's allowed to wait, we save it for the planned maintenance periods.
So the planned maintenance period you said every 2 months. How long do you get it? Is it a complete closure?
It's a complete closure of a runway for one night between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. And we have a crew of 10, 12 people doing their inspections, torquing.
And does this also include civils work at the same time?
If there is really need, if there is something really in need, there small civil things are done. And every year we have a weekly closure of a runway 24/7. And then the larger civils are done, and also transformer pits are inspected, markings are upgraded, And also we do the alignment of all the elevated fixtures. We check if they're still on the right angle.
What is the frequency of your rubber removal?
6 times a year on the most used runways.
Yeah.
Is this based on the friction testing or just a standard set interval?
Standard set of interval, but afterwards friction testing has been conducted to see if we will meet.
Does the rubber removal affect the inset lights much? Do you have to clean the inset lights? How do you do the cleaning? What's the frequency?
Every 2 weeks on the heavy use runways and 4 weeks for the other ones. The less used runways for landing. Runways which handle the most flights. It's the Polderbaan and the Kaagbaan. It's the most used runway. So they need more attention than the other ones.
Yeah. I know you're having quite some bad weather, of course. It's normal in winter, and some snow. What is the practice with the de-icing?
The past days we had a lot of snow here in the Netherlands. So our personnel is all the day steady and busy on the runways to keep them clean. And then they will de-ice the runway as well. Yeah, that's a daily operation.
The de-icing can cause quite some problems for the photometry and the performance of the lights. So do you increase the cleaning in this period, or how do you handle this?
Before we do our measurements, we do the cleaning. Most of the times we're quite operational. And also de-icing of the planes is done on one spot on the central de-icing facility, and most of the fluid is collected there. It's a small area where they do the actual de-icing. And yeah, for sure there is some drip off on the taxiways around that area.
With your lighting, bearing in mind the environmental consideration, I know you're doing quite some development with looking at lower current circuits to improve performance, to improve efficiency and sustainability. Could you share a bit about what's been happening here?
We have from the 6 runways, we have now on 3 runways, we have the APS system. And on the other runways, the traditional 6.6 amps system.
Yeah.
We will go to, and that's our goal, is to go to a low current system for all runways and for all the taxiways.
And what is the aim? What is the current you will be aiming to reduce to?
The runways we have in APS, it's 2 amps.
Yeah.
The system we will go to, I think that will be in 2028. It's about 3.3 amps.
And so this is naturally going to give you some significant benefits in terms of the reducing the environmental impact and reducing cost also.
Yep.
It's mainly power of cable losses you're gonna reduce.
So you're running new circuits, or do you run this through the existing circuits?
Both. We have with big maintenance, with the heavy maintenance, then we have to change all the primary circuits.
Yeah.
And then we can make it with what is necessary for the typical system we need. But we can use the primary what we have in the ground for existing primary cable. We can use it for the new system as well.
So, but when you're doing major works, you're replacing the 6.6 amp circuit.
We're replacing the primary circuits, and then we started in 2017 with the first APS runway, the APS system from ADB. It's the 2 amp system, and due to the limitation of the output power of these regulators, only 2 kilowatts, we also want to keep in the low voltage area from electrical side, so that then you need less specialists from education. If you switch over to the high voltage area, then there are other regulations needed. But due to the limitation of power available from each CCRs, you have to install more circuits for the same functionality. And so that only makes sense when you have a big refurbishment, and you already have to replace the primaries. And those primaries, when we replaced them, there were about I think somewhere between 40 and 60 years old. So then it also needs some changing, and also isolation values were going down the hill. So there was also a need for replacing the primaries, and that together with this system and the benefits of it, then it makes sense.
So what is your process for identifying and resolving faults in your constant current regulator systems?
Yeah, we have a regular mega measurement of the circuits, and also most of the CCRs are equipped with internal measurements. So we're gonna watch those numbers also and see, look after which circuits are degrading, and then we have to get access to them and see where the fault is. And every year we do a complete inspection of all our transformer pits, and if there is any water or we see any signs of starting degradation in the transformer pit, some visual things, we're going to replace that. And also pump out all the water. You have to know that the Schiphol Airport is 4.5 meters below sea level. So yeah, we are surrounded by water. So that's quite an issue to get it out, to keep that out of our transformer pits.
So you managed to keep your pits dry?
Most of them we can keep dry, and also we do some additional taping around connectors to keep them as close as possible.
That's incredible, because but I guess it's something your country is famous for, is managing water.
Yeah.
I think you have the country is below sea level almost. You reclaimed so much land.
A big part of it is below sea level.
Is part of the airport built on reclaimed land?
I think the complete airport is in reclaimed land.
Good. And of course, one of the benefits going to the low voltage systems is you improve safety for your teams working on the airport.
Yeah. And then all the electrical engineers here are trained by national regulations people. They're all certified to work in electrical environment, and all. The golden rule here is if you have to work on an electrical circuit, it's switched off. And if you're on the primary side, it's also earned. There is no way we're going to work on live circuits. No. That's not allowed.
Good practice. That I know airports face a lot of challenges, and unfortunately we still see a number of corners cut, and sometimes accidents happen. So that's
we had accidents here also, and that made us aware of we have to keep strict to the regulations and don't work on energized circuits.
And we do that on every system, eh?
Yeah.
Dus if it's 6.6 amps or 2 amps, doesn't matter.
No difference.
No difference.
Okay. Yeah, but as you say, it's necessary, because accidents, they're given that name for a reason. They still happen.
Yeah.
So, what about? So you've made a majority of your visual aids now are LED.
Yeah.
How do you find the performance, from a maintenance and an operational point of view of your LED equipment compared to your halogen equipment?
Less power consumption, that's one. The lifetime. We still we do refurbishment. We did it on halogen lights, but now we can do it as on LED as well. The only thing is that the brightness. LED is very bright. So the pilots complain sometimes for the brightness. That is the only thing that experience with LED.
Is this on the runways, or particularly, or the taxiways?
Particularly on
Runways,
runways,
yeah.
and mainly on the TDZ, and even in the lowest 1%, there we got the most complaints, and in the lowest intensity step, we got the most complaints that mainly the TDZ is from a pilot's perception too bright.
Yeah, and that's in rainy weather.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Making me think that possibly we could make a study of the light output at the 1% level to see if it conforms to the dimming curve specified for these lights, because it is certainly the case that typically the beam on the LED is more focused, of course, but it could be brighter because it's higher intensity. So it's something we could check.
Yeah, that's maybe something to investigate.
Maybe we could even drop the power even lower than 1% to achieve the required level. And
perhaps that's possible
Good. So there's and from the point of view of maintenance, you say the life is longer and you have less maintenance.
Yeah, we have less maintenance for failure of lights. They last longer. Less lights needs some bulb replacement. We don't replace LED engines ourselves. We put in a new LED, and if we have a lot, they're going to go back to the manufacturer for some repair or refurbishment. And last year, we completely refurbished all the LED lights of the runway installed in 2017. So we took out the lights after 7 years, sent them back to the manufacturer in Belgium, and they were overhauled there and sent back and put into the runway again. With new light engines and new seals. So
for another 7 years.
For another 7 years.
Yeah.
So you did complete refurbishment after 7 years. You do on LED.
Yeah. That's what they proposed when they delivered the lights. They estimated it would last for 7 years, and we planned our maintenance on this runway for 7 years, also with big civil works. If I look into the MOMS photometrics, which I have from the complete period from starting in 2017, the lights would last some longer, but then you have the issue you can't get access to the runway to replace them all, and you need a longer taking out of service at the runway for several weeks within 2 years again. So that's not allowed. We have to mix up. We have to align the civil renovation together with the electrical.
So how do you organize the maintenance for Schiphol? How many shifts? How many people day and night? Is it
actually most of work is conducted here on day. We do only the light measurements and cleaning in the night, but most of that's 2 week of that 8 weekly night we have access to the runway. That's also night shifts, but a lot of work is also done. Inspection is done on daytime. So we have one electrical team for. It's depending on what's planned, between 8 and 12 people we have available for the electrical part, and also quite a lot of installation, mainly in the substations, are maintained by subcontractors, like someone for the diesel engines, someone for our fire emergency installation in the stations. CCRs are maintained and inspected by a specialist once a year. So that's during that weekly closure of that runway.
And do you make what? How do you approach lighting maintenance in low visibility operations?
We don't do any maintenance with low visibility.
Right.
No,
And
we have
so
several. Yeah, we have several runways, so we can always switch to another runway.
your runway edge lights, these you have inset and elevated, so
Yeah.
some elevated still. And how often do you conduct alignment checks on these edge lights?
Once a year, there's an alignment check for the elevated lights and also in the approach. That's during that weekly closure of the runway, we do the alignment check. And for sure, if something strange appears out from the monthly measurement, where we see alignment is not good, then we're going to correct that light.
And also we do the tow-in checking once a year.
Yeah, that's the alignment for the elevated lights.
Yeah. And how do you approach the scheduling for the maintenance management? So the schedules for the inspection, maintenance, and repair and recording of the maintenance.
We the guys outside when it's AGL, most of things are done by the mom's engineer environment, and also we have some SAP related systems. That's our maintenance system, SAP, with inspections and also on GIS, geographical information. The guys outside have access to this information in the mom's engineer environment. Some other Heiman specific environments. Also, our data conducted during inspections is digital on the spot. They're gonna use digital inspection forms, fill it in, and then it's in a digital environment, and we can dashboard it and look after it, see trends.
So do you have specialists conducting analysis on the to support the maintenance?
Yeah, we have a team of maintenance engineers which look into the inspection results and see if they see strange behavior, trends, and try to get a finger on it and try to solve it.
And in spare parts inventory management, I guess you hold spare parts for all of the.
Yeah, we have spare parts, and they're stored in our SAP, and also the guys outside have their tablets with access to SAP. So if they have an order and they're gonna replace a light, they're gonna select the light in their tablet, and also it's taken out of the warehouse. And if we're below some safety level, new lights will be ordered by the supplier.
I see that in trying to manage the maintenance is sometimes quite difficult to achieve the right spare parts. To have enough spare parts. Do you have any difficulty obtaining inventory?
Yeah, you see LED electronics. It's a fast changing industry. Sometimes with in the halogen time, I still can buy halogen bulbs, which we used 30 years ago, and they're still available. But LED components for lights which are 5 or 6 years old are not available on the market anymore. So that makes it more challenging to last your equipment longer.
The one thing is doing the job. The other thing is reporting the job. So you have I guess internal KPIs to achieve for the airport.
Yeah.
And this is managed on a monthly basis or daily?
Every month, the KPIs are reported to Schiphol, to our counterpart or contract manager on Schiphol side.
And how often do you have an EASA audit or ICAO audit? Is it a frequent thing?
Yeah, we have them. Normally, we have them internally once a year,
Mm-hmm.
and externally once in a 3 year, I think. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And does this require special preparation? Like how much notice do you get of such a visit?
Most of the time, they early announce that they will
Yeah.
come, and
Yeah.
so we can prepare.
We can prepare. We have weeks to prepare before an audit will start.
What are the key areas that would concern you in such a process?
We have to prove that we do our inspections, and for the light compliance, it's quite easy within the MOMS environment. You can show the dashboards, and you can swap through several light reports, but also all the other inspections you do, like functional tests, switch over time, PAPI inspections, and that's because we inspect it and make it digital. We can quite easy show this information, so you can make reports of it. It's not big orders of papers.
So one of the most difficult areas for airfield maintenance, in experience, is the access to the lights, to the working areas, with working with air traffic control. Is this something that works? Do you feel it works well in Schiphol? Is it a challenge? Is it a challenge or
challenge?
It's all. It's challenging every day. And we have some guy from Schiphol who has access to the runways, with some technical guy from the Heijmans side on the mobile workshop to replace the lights. And we have some own people who are allowed to drive into airside themselves, so it makes it more flexible. So because also on Schiphol side, personnel is hard to find, qualified personnel. Some guys of ours are also allowed to do some electrical switching to a certain level by ourselves. So also Schiphol electrical guys don't have to do everything. So we're taking over tasks. Every week we have some situation that we have a small slot for maintenance on the runway, and then it's starting later, and they want the runway back earlier. And we try to interfere with that by one of our guys from the maintenance team is in the briefing every day, 3 times a day, ops with ATC, with every shift. Some person from Heijmans is also in that briefing to explain what we are doing, to see if there is any room for some quick repair, and needs a lot of flexibility.
do you believe that operations and ATC understands the necessity to perform the maintenance to achieve the compliance for the planes?
It's getting better.
Yeah.
It's getting better, and non-compliance is the magic word then.
So if there's a non-compliant, if you identify from the inspection data and the photometric test data some non-compliant adjacent light failure, then you report this and then request access.
Most of the time, it's getting better. Most of the times, they'll understand that it needs a quick reaction to at least replace some lights to get rid of the non-compliancy. It also gives them a good feeling if they're operating on a compliant runway.
Something to consider. I always feel that you guys responsible for the visual aids, the runways, somehow are not noticed most of the time. The only time you're noticed is when something is going wrong. Which is when everyone is looking at you. The only time they look is when there's a problem. Did you experience any challenging situations in the recent history where you had to deal with some challenge, and what could you learn from this experience?
Yeah, we had we had a CCR failure on one of the primary runways, and we came to a situation that ATC and operation can still use the runway for starting with no lights. It was possible at that moment, and in that time we could change the CCRs. And when the CCR was replaced, then they started using that runway for landing, and they needed the approach and the lighting on that runway. Again, but talking with each other and having respect for each role, then you find the right way and a good solution.
Yeah. Do you have a kind of a risk management plan, disaster recovery for visual aids, for AGL?
Yeah, we have quite a lot of spare lights and
CCRs.
Yeah, we have some spare CCRs, and we don't have complete runway on stock if something really goes wrong, but we have 6 runways. So if something really goes wrong, then the situation can be solved by using perhaps not an ideal runway from environmental and noise pollution situation, but still Schiphol can stay open.
Yep.
And that's one of the benefits I think we have. We have multiple runways, and
in all directions.
In all directions, and when something really bad happens, we're not closed immediately compared to a single runway airport or something like that. So,
of course, most airports practically are only single runways, so it's it's quite challenging for them. One last question in relation to projects. One of the areas that we find very useful is where people responsible for maintenance are consulted in the planning of new works, new runways, refurbishment, etc. Is this something that you are actively involved in Schiphol?
Within our contract we have with Schiphol as Heijmans is a main contractor. From our daily maintenance, we see things. We're gonna advise for renovation or big refurbishment. And we're going to plan that, and then another part of Heijmans, but within the same group of people, will engineer and execute the heavy maintenance. But during that whole engineering process, also the maintenance team of Heijmans and Schiphol is involved in the decisions made during design and also during execution. The maintenance guys are involved on the critical parts, because we have a contract that if we build something, we have to from a maintenance department, we have to take over the new installed installations, and we have to maintain it and guarantee the KPIs that we agreed when starting the contract.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
As Heijmans, we are responsible for the complete cycle, and that makes it a little bit easier to get in control if you have several contractors doing their projects and then try to hand it over to the maintenance teams.
Yeah. Right. So that's very, very progressive. So that's good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah. So it's unfortunately it's not always the case. I hear.
No. So it's not always easy. Also, it is getting better, but it's another type of technician, a maintenance guy or a project related guy.
Excellent. So what a way to kick off. First question is about training here. What are the requirements for training the airfield lighting staff in Netherlands? What do your laws require you to do? And how often do you do it, and how do you conduct training for your staff, for your team?
We have some trainings internal from on the airport itself, and we have some trainings, once in a year, once in 3 years.
Right.
It's on which training it's necessary.
So you keep like a diary, a training record for your people, and have a review process. And is there a requirement?
Mainly the electrical safety. It's a 3-year requirement to work on the electrical systems. For the specific AGL, it's mostly good practice and internal training. Sometimes also by suppliers of the equipment. And once in every 2 years or something, we have a group of people from the Heijmans and Schiphol organizations, trained by the EASA regulations for the design. So that also the EASA regulations are put into the design. And yeah, there's also a small part for the maintenance, but most of it is on the design side.
Mm-hmm. And yes, we're very much obviously been involved in training ourselves. We see the requirement, more capability based. So it's a practical, not just a classroom training. And the 3 years requirement now is being enforced a lot more strongly around the world. Peter Kesterton is asking here. You talked about mentioned adjacent light failure during your presentation and how you react in an immediate way to deal with that. At what point do you close a runway to do this work and use it, to use one of your other runways, or is for adjacent light failure just an intervention as soon as possible?
No, for sure, an adjacent lamp failure leads to non-compliancy, but also our standard is on all 5 of the main runways, we keep up to a Cat 3 level. So that's our goal. And if we're not compliant on that level, we're gonna try to act as soon as possible within the room operations will give us. We won't wait until the next maintenance slot. And also it's up to operations if they still operate that runway in a lower Cat conditions. We make an announcement, you're not compliant, Cat 3, and then we try to get to that level as soon as possible.
To our other panelists, did you ever come across a situation where ATC or an external party decided to close the runway because of lighting non-compliance?
They're alerted of a failure or lamps out, they would contact maintenance and close the runway because it's not operational.
Yeah, I mean, I see different practices across the world. Some of the strongest enforcement is happening in UAE. I've seen where I've actually seen the runway closed for adjacent light failure. But it's certainly something that we're trying to support with technology. You may have heard me mention you cannot manage what you do not measure. We're now incorporating the control system data with the CMMS data, and visual, which includes visual inspection and photometric inspection as well as the control system. And we can supply what's called a NOTAM report to ATC, because ultimately it's ATC will decide. We don't close AGL, Airfield Lighting don't close the runway. It's an ATC decision. If you're unable to repair a grounded primary cable due to traffic levels and you've only got one runway, how long do you think you can sustain that condition, and what will be the effect on the CCR? Does anybody feel able to answer that? Yeah.
If you have a single ground, then the circuit should continue to work, but you want to expedite the repair, because if you get a second ground, then you're going to get lights out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say as soon as you have the ability to get out there and repair it, you should be out there repairing it.
So that's good advice, Carl. And the aspect I'm completely unfamiliar with is in what way does it damage the CCR or the regulator when you're operating in these sort of conditions?
I don't think it does damage the CCR.
Oh.
CCR can pretty much handle anything. And the other question is, how do you know you had that first failure to ground? Are you really cognizant that there's a failure to ground out on that existing circuit? And I say most airports don't know that exists if it does exist. The second failure is what causes the alarm.
Thank you, Stuart. Another question. What devices help to improve circuit insulation and quickly identify faults, except measuring. Any suggestions there? Whilst you're thinking, I've come across a solution that's been proposed recently to actually install within the circuit to actually monitor the performance on a real-time basis. Not only just to tell, because you can see the CCR performance from with the most modern CCRs at the CCR, but you can actually monitor the performance, in the segments around the circuit which will both tell you if there's a fault occurring and helps you identify much more accurately and quickly where it is. So that's one solution. Anything else you heard about? Seraphin wanted to know how many people were working on the airfield lighting maintenance in Schiphol. Jung actually replied that there is approximately 10 technicians. Is this 10 on each shift or 10 in total?
10 in total.
So you operate in shifts of 2 or 3 guys, or how does it work?
But we're not 24/7. In case of real error, we are available, and night shifts are those 2 monthly shifts on the runway. But we don't have a complete 24 shift available, only for major errors.
But this doesn't include the stands or the ramp area, the apron.
No. And terminal not also. It's only for the runways.
Only for the runways.
And do these same, out of these 10, do they do the cleaning and the talking as well?
The talking is done by this team, and cleaning we hire an external party, and that's a group of 2 people, one in the trailer and one on the blast equipment, one in the truck. So that's a couple.
Use the bicarbonate of soda. Yeah. And that was that done on how frequently? Remind me.
2 weekly on the main used runways for landing, our primary runways, and every 4 weeks for the other ones.
Right. Okay. Bart, you have to help me here. Raymond asked a question.
I asked, what about threshold lights? And we asked, what do you want to know about the threshold? He wanted to know if they also had a lifespan of 7 years. We talked about a replacement period of 7 years for our LED lights. And also the threshold lights lasted 7 years. And also he asked us if we are faced with high brilliancy or complaints from users for the threshold lights. But our users are mainly talking about the TDZ and sometimes approach, but never had complaints about the intensity of the threshold lights.
So you said that after 7 years, all of the LEDs are taken from the runway and they are refurbished. Yeah?
Yeah.
7 years is because this is their life, or how did you decide 7 years? Where did 7 years come from?
7 years was proposed by the manufacturer. We monitored from the start every month with a photometric measurement. And after 7 years, we also had a civil construction of that runway. And that was the moment we also should replace the lights, because then we had a closure long enough to take the lights out, ship them to the manufacturer, refurbish them, get them back, and put them, install them in the runway within several weeks of maintenance period. If I look into the photometric results, all the lights are performing well above serviceability level, around 70% or something, between 60 to 70%. Most of the lights were still performing, so they had some lifetime in them. But it's from an economical way, it was the moment to replace the lights.
Good.
So they can last longer than 7 years, but you have to combine several tasks in your maintenance schedule and combine it to have not every year a major operational impact on all the runways.
Yeah, but this is the manufacturer recommendation, and it works for Schiphol. Yeah.
Yeah. This one worked out.
Right.
In the 2-amp application you've got, do you have primary, secondary isolation transformers?
Yeah.
Or they're connected?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same principle of primary, secondary cable structures.
How often do you torque the lights on the runway? Nelson asked. I think you said, was it monthly? You said, or how often?
8 weeks.
Monthly. And you do the same for all the lights, or is it or different for the runway, touchdown zone, the taxiway?
No, for all the lights, we still keep the same frequency, but we're digging into the data collected by the MOMS environment to see if we can see areas where we have to intensify the torquing or get less there and still be safe.
Right.
So that's part of our maintenance engineering team to see if we can optimize our maintenance frequency without getting into high risk areas.
And what is the standard torque that's applied for the lights?
It's depending on manufacturer. We have several values.
So different. So center lines. What, for example, the center line?
It depends on the manufacturer. We have manufacturer recommendation. The torque they tell us, and we keep that as the standard.
I think that's absolutely excellent. I don't know from the other members of the panel. Do you have any questions that you had for the team from seeing the webinar today?
I found the whole thing very, very interesting, very encouraging to see, good practice, achieving good results as well, and good lessons there. And I think just the one thing that I pick up particularly is this matter of intensity control. I think that's something that you, Robert, was saying could be investigated, and I think it should, because brilliancy stages, I think they vary. I think in the United States, I think they have 5 brilliancy controls. I think it's 125, whatever it is, percent. In the UK, we actually have 6, 130, 10, 3, 1 and 0.3. They're talking about 1% today. That would be bright in some conditions. I guess that nobody complains when the visibility is bad. This is clear night conditions when you're turning the whole thing down, and it is annoying if it's too bright. You don't need very much light at all if the visibility is cavoc. You really don't. A few candela will do the job. For taxiways, for example, you don't need much. But the design for lighting is for the worst case, which is low visibility. And then you need all the intensities as specified. And I don't think pilots will complain about brilliancy then.
Yes, I recall when LEDs were deployed first in the USA, we did testing at Raleigh Durham, wasn't it, Seward?
Yes.
And I think the deployment of approval of LED lighting for the runways was delayed quite some 2 or 3 years because they were initially far too bright, as too bright, absolutely, and also at that time also addressing inconsistencies in the dimming curve, which were found to be non-compliant. But I believe that's been addressed. But it's certainly something that came to mind when Bart and Jeroen were talking about the complaints in Schiphol, and we could look at with you. You have the tester, so we could conduct some experiment to see what is the actual intensity, because generally speaking, we find when it's not an LED light source is not inherently brighter. But if it's giving out twice the light output, it's twice as bright. It's as simple as that.
Hey, Robert, there's one thing. This whole business of lights seeing at short range, not when they're point sources, which is what all the design is, assuming the light is a point source. We're seeing this a lot on the road, public roads now, the headlight problem. And part of this, I think, is the size of the aperture which the light is coming out of. The same amount of light flux through a smaller hole, the flux density is greater. And I think that's part of the problem.
Yes, I can speak to that from daily experience. And I'd like to wrap up just saying one of the fascinating things that we haven't touched on after the talk, as you mentioned, you have a team looking into inspection results, and we had some good experience working with you guys. And since you started recording all the information digitally, you have a team of people actually using the information. So I don't want to throw you something you haven't prepared for, but in terms of the guys working on this, is this something you work you work with them regularly or are they analyzing data from the whole airport, or are they dedicated to airfield lighting?
The maintenance engineers within the Heijmans organizations are dedicated to the AGL. They're part of the Heijmans parcel, the contract. So their maintenance engineering activities are done to the assets which are maintained by Heijmans. So also the civils, the grass, it's part of that.
So you have an asset management team analysing the data, providing recommendations, helping you to adjust your schedules, your methods, any performance issue or good. But that's a good. I mean, there's so much good coming out of your airport. I mean, I can see with the clearly safety and compliance is the most important thing. And when I look at the dashboard, I can see green tick, green tick, green tick. It tells, as you can tell from a glance, that it's well done. But also you see you have to meet you have to achieve the environmental, not even levels. These are the improvements, because this is you're heading to zero. That's the plan, and this is across the whole airport, because it's not just airfield lighting. It's everything. But then other challenges. Keeping pits dry. I'm sure we did two webinars on pits last year, just on pits, and I think pit design. I'd be very interested. Probably too big a discussion. If there's any tips for pit design, I think everybody would. If you could give everybody dry pits, tell them how to achieve this. It's almost like magic. So, any tips for you?
Yeah, our pits are quite expensive.
Yeah.
Quite big, at least 12 centimeters of concrete, and all our cables are put in as they call it, multi-diameter modules. You can peel some layers out of modules like Lego to make the cable fit in a rubber sealing, and that makes it quite watertight.
And we have ventilation.
Yeah, some natural ventilation.
Ventilation on the pits.
So our primary connectors are taped with vulcanating tape. So to keep the moisture out of the connectors. So we have to take several precautions to get the water, to keep the water out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
But there will always be a problem on the airside of on airport Schiphol, because we are 4 meters below sea level.
As I said, there are more and more questions coming. I promise we will take these and answer them formally, but just the last question, because it's the time of year. What special measures does Schiphol take during winter conditions to maintain visual aid service maintain them in a serviceable condition?
The maintenance program is done, and if snow plows are going around the runway, I hope they take care of the lights. And yeah, we had some snow, and yeah, we had some broken lights a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's always
Yeah, between 30 and 50 elevated lights were broken on the complete area. And we have 19,000 lights, so from that point of view, it's not that much, but every light is one too much. And mainly taxiway lights were shoveled down.
So thank you, Jeroen. Thank you, Bart. You've taken a lot of time for this, but I think you've really shared some really helpful information and shown what can be achieved on such a important airport with so few staff, and you do a great job. So well done to both of you, and thank you so much for sharing your information with us. Thank you to the panel. To Tony, to Seward, to Carl. Thank you to my backup team, of course, Damon, Felicity, for getting everything ready. I really appreciate, and most important, of course, our audience. So thank you all for participating today. I hope you found something. I'm sure you found something useful to take away from it. I'm looking forward now to the next time. We're going, I think, to the desert. More information will be revealed next week. But if any others of you who've heard this that also wish to share their experience, their knowledge and understanding with their colleagues in our family of airfield lighting specialists, then I would very much welcome your communication. Give me a call, give me an email, and then we will arrange. And you can be on TMS Tuesday and share your experience, and we can all learn some more. So thank you very much, everyone. But a special thanks to Jeroen and Bart. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you all again, I think on the 24th of February, same time. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.